Hello and welcome to That's Not Spit, It's Condensation. I'm Ryan Beach, and in this episode, I am excited to be able to share with you the direction of this podcast, to share with you some updates about it, and to talk to you a little bit about why I disappeared. So you may have noticed that over the past year, I have not regularly released any episodes. The reason why is from April 2019 until June of 2022, I released a podcast episode every single week without missing, except for 1 week. There's 1 week that I missed. So that's a lot of episodes, and it just began to wear on me a little bit. It began to become a bit of a burden to try to think about who do I want to interview that I haven't interviewed before and setting it up. And when work came back after the pandemic, I got busier and I got more into video production and things like that. So I've been trying to basically split my time, and the podcast was something that I just needed to put on the back burner for a little while. So I thought in June, well, maybe I'll just take a month-long break and then come back to it strong and refreshed. And I enjoyed sort of not having to think about the podcast. So a month turned into 2 months, turned into, 6 months. And now we're here all of these months later, 14, 15 months later. And I'm finally making another episode. I also got a little bit overwhelmed. Not overwhelmed, but I just got a little bit sort of burnt out by having to interview people, many of them who I'm meeting for the first time, and have a conversation that was potentially worth listening to. That was just kind of hard to do week in and week out. And I also got to a point where I felt like I had asked many of the questions I was interested in asking, and I just needed some time to work with the information I got. So that's why I took that break. And over the past couple of months, I've been thinking about coming back and what do I want to talk about and how do I want to talk about it. And I came up with an idea. And that idea is now, at least for the foreseeable future, the direction of this podcast, which is 2 types of episodes. One is going to be episodes that surround people that I've coached, and sort of using the episode as a way for me to get feedback from those people that I coached about what things worked from the programs that I wrote from them and the process that we followed, what things didn't work as well, and just so I can keep getting better. But I also thought it might be kind of interesting to share with you what that process was like, and maybe there will be some takeaways for you that you can try out in your own audition preparation. And so that is one style of episode that I will be sharing. It's most of them are audition specific. A couple of them, I think, maybe just one of them right now is going to be recital focused. And then there's a concerto that I helped my wife prepare that I will do as well. And so again, this is just sort of a deep dive into the process of preparing for something you care very deeply about. And the other style of episode is going to be a deep dive into how we make decisions in the practice room. So I interviewed a bunch of different trumpet players, most of them teachers. A couple of them are primarily performers. And I asked the question, if you picked up a piece of music for the first time, what would you do first? And the idea is how do we go about making decisions in the practice room? Not necessarily practice tips, although those are in these episodes that we've done, but also just when would you apply those tips? When would you slow things down? When would you slur things on the trumpet? When would you sing through something? When is listening to a recording a good idea? And trying to understand a bit of a process. So the goal is, by the end of each individual episode, we can sort of have a rough outline of what it would look like to practice like the person that I'm interviewing, so that you who are listening might be able to have some takeaways, things that you could try in your own practice sessions that might make things more effective. You could say it's pedagogically focused, but instead of it being specific to problems on the trumpet, it's a little bit more specific to how to understand how to make progress in general and how long it takes. And again, there is some trumpet pedagogy in there as well. So that is the direction of the podcast for, the next however many months. It's exciting and interesting to me to interview people in this way because I personally don't hear a lot of conversations that I'm at least aware of where people are talking about sort of almost the workflow. Like in video production, everyone has their own workflow. They think about, I do this step, and then I do this step, and then I do this step. And the reason I do it in that order is to allow me to do things in a way where I don't have to go backwards. I sort of establish one thing, and then when that's established, I can move on to the next thing, and everything just sort of flows nicely and easily. And the ultimate goal is efficiency of work. How can I get a lot done in a short amount of time or something like that? So that's kind of the framework that I'm thinking about this Trumpet episodes with, is almost some version of a workflow. And I hope that is interesting to you as a listener. It's certainly interesting to me as an interviewer. The final thing that I want to share in this particular episode is that I now have video episodes. I haven't done that thus far because I didn't really have an understanding of how to do it. And when I gained an understanding, I didn't feel the quality was high enough from Zoom. The things I would download from Zoom just weren't as good as I wanted them. So it took me a long time. I finally found a platform that I liked. And so these episodes will now be on YouTube. I will leave a link to that YouTube in the description, and you can check that out if you want to watch these episodes and see me and the guests interacting. There will also be some clips on there as well for you to check out. So I want to thank you for listening to this podcast and supporting me in where I'm at and just being patient with me while I try to come up with things that I think will be interesting for me, but valuable for those that are listening. I hope you get a lot out of this, and thank you so much for hearing me out. And we will see you in the next episode.